about strongholds and dark entities. Okay, so when you are pure source energy, you're like a little cement ball that has no cracks. It's completely solid, and it's composed of the exact same thing all the way through. So there's no fractures or anything. It's just a solid mass, and there's no impurities in it. And that's what we are. That's what God is, and that's what we are. We're a piece of that. And then we're put into this body, the physical body. And whenever we have any trauma, it's like taking the cement ball and smashing it against something that's not good. And so what happens is it creates a fracture or a little crack in the circular sphere that you are, that's pure source energy. So that means if you are complete and pure and all of a sudden you have a crack, that crack is not pure. Otherwise, it would be a crack. It would be the same material that composes everything that you are, which is pure source energy. So when you open like this and you have a fracture because of trauma, it creates a crack, and what goes in there, if there was no, if there was, if the crack was full of the same stuff that you're made of, then it wouldn't be a crack. It would just make it bigger, and then it would fill it in. But it doesn't work that way. So it's actually a crack, and what gets in is impurities. Because we're pure, when it cracks open, it has to be something impure to fill up that space. And so when we are pure and we're a sphere and there's nothing in there, um, entities and beings such as God and archangels and angels of light and the ascended masters, they all are pure. So they have the ability to enter your consciousness and swim around and communicate with you because they're composed of the exact same thing. They have no impurities in them. So they are in there swimming around and helping you on your journey. So the other side of that is you need to understand that, okay, so, and also we're pure source energy, and when something's connected to us, it has the ability to enter through the outside of us and enter in and swim around and help us and then exit. But we're always attached to every pure source energy on earth. We're attached to, which means like there's an energetic thread from us attaching to each other. So God is like this, but he's got a thread to each and every one of us that works for light and anything that's good. And then, and that's how and the thread is through the spiritual world. So that's how we're able to travel through like a cable cord. We're able to travel through that cable cord energetically. You can't see it to the visible eye, but there is a connection. And so it's essentially like this is God, but now God has all these fingers with these people that are attached to them roaming around the earth. And God and the angels and everything travels through those into each of us and back and forth. We have the ability to travel through this web that's all connected to each other. Now, when we have a crack that's open and it's filled with darkness, all of the darkness is connected as well. So when you have that little crack, that crack gets filled with the emotions, the feelings, and the thoughts, as well as the smells and whatever you associated with the trauma, and it gets stuck in there, and that's what fills the space with it. So it's filled with darkness, and the darkness is composed of your thoughts and emotions and feelings and everything else that you associate with the traumatic event, and it gets stuck in there. So, oh darn it, what I do with it? So, it's like planting a seed. This is the acorn that was gifted to me. So if this was the bad thing, what happens is this gets filled into our crack, their foundation that got opened because of trauma, and it gets planted there. And this represents, so if I'm beaten, I'm going to have in here pain and fear, maybe anger because I can't express myself, or anger because no one's stepping in, frustration because I can't, when I'm getting hurt, you aren't able to speak or say no, or frustrated with yourself because at the moment you weren't able to do anything, and now you're like, why didn't I do this? And then it's anxiety and nausea and everything bad that happened at that moment that my foundation got cracked from the trauma, and now it's stuck in there because I now am willingly holding on to the thoughts and actions and or thoughts and beliefs and um, everything, the smells from that traumatic experience, and I'm not expressing those thoughts and emotions and everything, because that's how you heal it. So when someone, so another thing is, if you're a solid foundation and someone goes, hey, you're fat and ugly, you crack, you can crack you open. So it doesn't have to be physical. It can be anything that harms you that isn't true. Anything that isn't true, that isn't love, that is physically harms your mind, body, or spirit, or even tries to, is darkness. And I say tries to because a lot of times when we are spiritually grown, we're able to stop it from absorbing in. And this is what I'm talking about. Someone calls you fat and ugly, it's like, oh, and then it's like, oh, I'm fat and ugly. And then it's like, wait a second. No, I'm not, you jerk. And then you say, that's not mine. And you give it back to them and it closes that back up. So knowing that you're not all of the illusions, or that the illusion's a stronghold. So that crack in there and the stuff in it is called a stronghold. So, or the crack in it is a stronghold. It gives darkness something to hang on to get inside you to cause pain and suffering. Because God is pure source energy with like this, and its goal is, and the goal of anyone that's connected to God, their goal is to have everyone relieved of pain and suffering, and to be of service to humanity and all things good. So when you open your crack, when you have a crack and it's to your foundation due to trauma or whatever, you have these things in there, you need to talk about them to get them to be removed. So just like there are beings of light, like God and archangels and ascended masters and loved ones that are of light, there's also beings that and entities and demons that work for darkness. And those are ones that are determined to spread pain and suffering, and they're also going to lie about everything to get you to believe them. This is super interesting because I've experienced it firsthand through my son and my best friend in Mexico. At the same time that I had my spiritual awakening, some stuff happened, and so now we're in the process of removing all of these demons and entities. And because this is new for us, we're all learning together. We're sharing everything together, and I'm healing from my traumas. So that's giving me in it's giving me insight into the healing part and the trauma. And it's also really cool to be in the heal part and look at other people that are, for two different reasons and different ways, that they're suffering and afflicted with darkness. Oh, so this crack gets open, and then how I said that when it's closed, beings of light can go in and help us and help us and then leave. Well, when we have this crack open, that is the crack, the stronghold that the demons and darkness and beings and things of darkness um, use to get into us, which then gets into our head, and they can affect the way that we interact with others, the way that we think, the way that our behavior completely. They can talk us into doing things like harming somebody, or harming ourselves, or well, it all comes down to darkness is harming the mind, body, and spirit of anyone. And so these strongholds provide these darkness entities a way, because it's all connected as well. So they can go from darkness to darkness to darkness, and it's all this one big blob with lots of fingers as well, to all the darkness. So their job is to promote pain and suffering, and to lie to us and get us to spread the pain and suffering to everyone else. So that is what this video was about. It is explaining how darkness and entities get into us, and it is through a crack in our solidness of purity. It's an illusion, something that's untruth and that's not true, that we believe, and our belief that it's part of us, or that we're not worthy, or whatever, or the pain, and we're not releasing the emotions. Any of that is the way, because it's all impurities. And if we have any impurity in us, demons are attached to all darkness. So if we have any seed of darkness in there, they are able to permeate and attack us by the way we think and our actions and everything else. So it's really super cool. And now you understand how they get in. And so the way that we stop them is by healing the traumas that we've had, and removing any of the things, any impurities in us. And by doing so, it closes up that fracture and releases any strongholds that darkness can use to get into us and to wreak havoc. I love you so much. I'm excited to share these exciting messages with you. It's going to help relieve a lot of us from pain and suffering. Namaste.